Welcome to the Beauty and the Beast show. Beauty and the Beast flow. Goddamn, Scott Gale looking like a creep show. I think I'm seeing things. Sarah lost the top. You can watch this podcast with the volume off. TV shows to wrestling, that's the brand. It's Scott talking with
episode 20 of the Beauty and the Beast show. I'm here with Scott and our guest, Billi Bhatti. He's a wrestler, a model, and he was a former Big Brother contestant. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Scott, do you want to start with the first question?
What made you want to become a wrestler?
I didn't want. I was just a wrestling fan. I watched it from the age of about 8 or 9 years old, and when I got into Big Brother, they seeked me out for the opportunity to come in and do it with them because it was publicity for them. There's really nothing in it for me. I really just did it for those guys because at the time British wrestling was only pulling in about 50 to 100 people, and the shows I were on did about 300 or 400 at least, and they started to keep going up. I actually made a reality show out of my wrestling called What the Housemates Did Next, and they picked like three housemates' journey to follow, and they followed me doing wrestling. So it was beneficial for British wrestling, but you'll never hear a British wrestler thank me for it.
So I want to ask you about Big Brother. Like, what was that like? I mean, you did pretty much answered the question I had, which was, how did you get on the show in the first place? So, I mean, someone contacted you, right?
No, it's an audition process. It starts with 250,000 people across the country in 6 different cities, and they narrow it down to 16. And it takes months. You go through different audition after audition after audition, group activities, interviews, all kinds of stuff. I don't know why I got chosen, to be honest, but I was there at the end. So
I didn't get to watch the show, but I read about you, and I read that you were like a villain character.
Yeah.
That's true. Why did they make you out to be the villain? Was that just editing, or was that all you? Like,
no, I can't put it on them entirely, like, because I knew I wasn't going to win. I'm not stupid enough to win. I don't have an unfortunate backstory. I'm not poor. I'm not ugly. Like, these are the kind of people that win Big Brother. So I think the money for me and the publicity for me had to be from getting as much TV time as possible. So the only slot that was available was to be a villain.
So, I mean, but did you do it because you wanted to do reality TV, or did you just do it to promote your wrestling career?
No, I had no interest in doing wrestling. I was just a wrestling fan. At that point, I'd been to 3 WrestleManias, and I'd never done any wrestling at all, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. I really did it to boost my club promoting. I was a club promoter, and it would have just increased my social media and whatnot. I mean, my MySpace, my Facebook, I have 3 Facebook accounts, and they all filled up while I was in the house. And my MySpace, which is completely useless now, had about 40 to 50,000 people on it. So.
Oh, I thought you were saying before that the Big Brother thing was to promote your wrestling, not like the vice versa. But you're saying that you started wrestling after Big Brother?
Yeah, Big Brother. The wrestling company contacted me because they knew I was a fan, and they wanted me to start managing one of the factions on their show. And they wanted to use me being there to get publicity and to increase their attendances. Plus, Big Brother and the wrestling company got together while I was in the house, and they created a reality show for me about me becoming a wrestler. None of this was anything to do with me. It all was negotiated while I was in the house, and all I had to do was come out and agree to it. So for me, it was another thing to do on TV, and it was another way to get paid when I got out. So I just took it.
How did you start modeling?
I I have not. I got spot. I was out in a nightclub in England, and somebody spotted me and asked me to come to a shoot the next day, and I never thought it would be something that I would do. I think even to this day, I've kind of justified it or reasoned it as being I look different to. I kind of where you have different types of people. You kind of have the guy with the dark hair. You have the black guy, an Asian guy, the blonde guy, and I kind of think I kind of fill a gap, which is kind of why I was able to get so much work. I don't actually see myself as the stereotypical model type or anything like that. So I think I just fill the gap in the market at the time, to be honest. I've never really put too much emphasis on it or saw myself that way.
What else do you like to do besides modeling?
I didn't pick that up. There was what else do I like to do besides? I heard.
Yeah.
Besides modeling.
Yeah, besides modeling.
Well, at the time, because I haven't modeled for a while. I haven't. I haven't modeled since I did Big Brother. The problem is when you do Big Brother is that you make a choice as to whether you want to carry on modeling or you want to be a reality TV star. So as soon as a model gets a proper identity, or once people can see the personality behind that model, then you can't be used for campaigns and whatnot. So I didn't do anything after Big Brother, just Big Brother stuff, just television, magazines, TV shows, things like that since then.
Like what TV shows have you done?
I've done everything in this country that there is to do, like in terms of appearing on these shows, like 8 out of 10 Cats, the Friday Night Project, just UK stuff that you guys probably wouldn't have heard of. You might find interesting is that they chose me to be the presenter of the Big Brother porno parody. It was called what Billy Did Next, and because based off the Big Brother reality show where they said what the housemates did next, but they just changed it to what Billy did next. A porn producer that works for Big Brother, and it was a big porn series. I think it's the biggest one ever in the UK, like the most watched. And I had to be the presenter. I haven't done any porn. I was just the presenter of the show. So yeah, that's kind of a big thing that I did afterwards for I think I was like 3 years, and it was 3 series. So 2.5 years it was, from 2009 to 2011.
I read something about you that said you've been to every WrestleMania since 2005, right?
I missed 32 because 32 looked terrible, and I just couldn't justify wasting. It was literally wasting money, and I knew that my kid was going to be old enough to go to Florida and do the parks and the WrestleMania because he was 6 this year, and I knew that I would have 2 WrestleManias to pay out for, so I just left 32. But before 32, I had a little run from 21 all the way to 32, and now I went this year. Well, I missed 1.
What was your favorite so far?
My favorite so far? I think 30, but it's not entirely for the show. A lot of it has to do with Bourbon Street and everything that we did on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. And we'll be back there next year as well.
Sweet.
Is there any other wrestling shows you like to watch besides WWE?
No, I'm not really an indie mark, to be honest. I won't go out of my way to watch anything unless people are going on and on and on about it, and then we need to fulfill our responsibility to cover it for the podcast, and then I'll watch Okada and Kenny Omega. Like, I had to watch it, but I had no interest in seeking it out beforehand, but we had to cover it for the show.
Do you watch
otherwise
Impact?
Not anymore. I don't know. I did up to a certain point. I tried watching it again when I'm friends with Drew McIntyre. I tried to watch it when Drew was on, and I watched some of the Broken Hardy stuff. But no, since then I've not watched any of it this year.
Yeah, it's not as good as it used to be.
almost unwatchable now, I think, at this point.
So you got a
If you
question?
could be Big Brother again, who would you choose to be housemates with? If you could come up with like a fancy list of who you would be housemates with, what would that list be?
Oh, do I have to? I mean, who can does this have to be? Like, if I start putting out English names, it won't make much sense. You want me to keep it American, or? I don't know. Like, it wouldn't really. I can't really think of like famous people, but there was a lack of single women in our show, and the thing is, single women and single men put together is the way that you make more money. I had to be a villain because by the time I got in there, the only girl that I would have taken a liking to was already in a relationship. So a lot of the publicity I got was temporarily breaking that couple up, and then they got back together as soon as I left. So I think there would have been more money in it for me, and it would have been, and the time would have gone by quicker if there were women to associate with and get along with. But our year was particularly bad for that. We had a couple of twins in there who had just turned 19, but their brains were like 6-year-olds. So there was really nothing in there for me.
So what about this? If you could choose 3 reality stars to get in like a fight with on camera, not like a physical fight, but maybe just an argument, who would they be?
Reality stars. I don't. See, that can be really hard or really easy to answer, because the thing, we have shows over here where reality TV's just got to a point where it's just. I don't know if you have X on the beach over there, where your exes just turn up on a beach.
No, but that sounds interesting.
It is, but it's not, in a sense of like how many reality shows we have here, and the way people act when they're out, and it's kind of like how higher, they think they're as high as they can possibly be. Whereas like when we did reality TV, it was really worth doing because there was only Big Brother factor on. So obviously the less people that are like sharing a pie means the bigger pieces that we could all have back then. And now they think that they're great with a tiny bit of money that they can make with the 50 reality shows that they put on every year. So I think confronting any one of those people and saying, look, you're not that important. We were actually important when we did it. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Everybody can have 15 minutes now. So it doesn't make any, I think I'd kind of, anybody who comes off TV now who acts in that way, who doesn't understand how relevant it was and how irrelevant they are, I think anybody like that, I would say.
Are you a fan of any stand-up comedians?
I still like the old guys. Like, I still like Dave Chappelle and who else? I've been to watch a few. I think Russell Brand is still good. I think he's the best guy that we've had over here. I like Russell Peters, but Russell Peters is too commercialized now. It's too much of the same thing, told a different way. Whereas Dave Chappelle always has new stuff. Kevin Hart doesn't have any good material at all, but like I like the way that he tells everything. Like, his whole thing is an act, like based on very limited material, and to pull that off. And obviously, didn't he sell out? What did he sell out? I can't remember where he sold. It was Philadelphia. He sold out the whole stadium. Do that, then you deserve a mention. Obviously, when you ask me that kind of question.
Yeah, I like Bob Saget. You ever seen his stand-up?
No, I know who he is, but I've not seen his stand-up. No.
So you got a question?
Yeah. So if you could be on any reality TV show now, what would that show be?
This sounds so boring, but I think I did the one I wanted to do. Like, there's no kind of like I don't want to live in the. We've got one over here. I don't know. You guys, I think, have the same stuff. Like I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here. We have to live in a jungle and all that. And I think all of them seem quite hard for. You have that.
Well, I've heard of it, but I don't know if we have it in the States.
Yeah, see, people say things like that, but I don't have a desire to go on shows that are particularly difficult to handle like that. So I think I'm completely fine with the one that I did, and I would go back and do that one again if there was a chance to do it. I mean, maybe doing it in your like doing it in a different country with different people, like doing it with Americans would be quite appealing, to do an American Big Brother instead of our one. But I think that one was fine for me. I auditioned for it. It's the only one I wanted to do.
I would love to be on Big Brother. Like, I love that show. If you could go back, would you be the villain again, or would you play it kind of differently?
I didn't pick that up, Sarah, but I didn't pick that whole question up. Sorry.
Oh, I said, well, if you could go back, would you still play the villain, or would you do things differently?
I have to look at it when I get in there and see who's there. Like if it's the same landscape as last time, then I would do it exactly the same way. If there's girls in there and whatnot, and I actually can see myself being able to pass the time without having to be a villain and without messing around with people's heads and playing mind games and all this kind of stuff that I did and cutting promos in the diary room and stuff. If I could do it all without that and I could actually enjoy myself in there, then that would be better. But if it's the same people or the same type of people, then I'd do it the same way. I mean, I've done all right out of it. Like it's 9 years ago now, and I'm still working on things. So,
are you into any sports? Like, what is your favorite type of sport?
I like the English football, the soccer, the Premier League. But I watch anything you can gamble on. I watch cricket, tennis. I watch the NFL when it comes on in a few months. Yeah, I mean they're the main ones. If I know enough about them to gamble on them, because I'm also on the sports gambling podcast, which is on iTunes. I'm the soccer correspondent for those guys. So yeah, I mean I do like to bet on things. I'll even bet on WWE, which is ridiculous, but I do. Can.
Let's see.
What are some of the things that you're working on right now? Like, I know you just mentioned your podcast. I think you have 2 or 3 podcasts now, right?
Yeah. I'm on the gambling podcast and I'm on the Dirty Sheets, but the Dirty Sheets is mine. Like, so that's the priority all the time. We're always focusing on our shows on there, getting guests on there and whatnot. I think you're doing it for us soon. We had Vince Russo on Monday as well. So yeah, I mean that's the priority. Everything centers around the Dirty Sheets. The whole thing there is girls and gambling and obviously we cover combat sports as well. It's kind of supposed to be like we're transforming it from wrestling into a male kind of entertainment podcast where we'll cover MMA and boxing. We'll cover movies. We'll have girls in to talk about films and stuff. We'll put polls up to see what film. On top of doing Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, things like that. So we're just branching out from the wrestling because, as Vince Russo said when we spoke to him this week, there isn't that much to talk about at the moment. The TV is pretty stagnant, and it's really difficult to just do a wrestling podcast and do 7 shows a week on wrestling. So we're not going to make ourselves do it. We have other stuff to talk about. So we're going to keep the wrestling on there, but we want to talk about women and movies and MMA and boxing and whatever we want to do. Like we'll be doing that from now on.
What inspired you to start podcasting?
I don't know. Like I was asked to come on a podcast, and then I started to receive a large portion of the emails from the listeners and stuff, and then eventually they just gave me my own show on that network. And then because we started to see numbers from that, I moved over to my own feed. I don't. It sounds harsh to say, but I didn't, because they got me onto their podcast, but they were gaining everything out of it, like the people whose network I was on. Like I was essentially doing it for free. The only thing I was promoting was my website, and they had all the sponsors and stuff. So and they were doing nearly 10,000 listeners off my show, so which was more than their show. So eventually it made sense to just buy a feed on iTunes and just move everything across and do it by myself with my colleague Nick.
Scott, do you have any more questions?
I have one more question. If WWE offered you a job, would you accept it? If they gave you the full amount of money?
To do what is that? Is that to wrestle or to write?
To write lines.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as we all spoke about on when we did the podcast with Vince on Monday, the reason Vince Russo gets attacked by Dave Meltzer and Ryan Satin and all these people is because everybody that does a podcast, he talks about wrestling, wants to do his job. We're all doing his job. We're all doing the writer's job, but we're doing it the next day. So, I mean, we could do it. If we could do it the day before and actually write the show, then we would all take our chances to write the show. So 100%, like Nick knows that we will, if the WWE asked me to come and write for them, then we would have to shut the podcast down, and that would make perfect sense.
Sarah, you got any more questions?
Where can people follow you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, my Twitter is just at Billi Bhatti. It changed to something else for a while, but Twitter will own that. I've done most of my stuff on there. So yeah, that's BILLIBHATTI. Our website is thedirtysheets.com, and when you go on there, you'll see the direction that we're going with our podcast. Although at the moment, a lot of the podcast content is wrestling. The website content isn't, and we will be moving over to that format with our podcast soon. So there'll be a lot more different topics being discussed on there.
I want to thank you for joining us for our podcast, especially since it's 1 a.m. where you are right now. So we really appreciate that.
It's 2:20.
I'm sorry?
It's 2:20 a.m. I got the times wrong when I was talking.
a.m.?
It's 2:20 a.m. now.
Wow. Thank you. We appreciate it.
And I think we have to do our own podcast now after this one, because we have a guy from New York, and on Friday we do one with a guy from LA or San Jose. So he can only do it now. So as soon as I'm done here, I have to do our own one. So they're waiting for when it finishes.
Wow,
you're
like on top of your game here, your podcast game.
Yeah, I do this every day. Like I'm honestly, I'm more on your time than I am on our English time.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you for coming to the show.
No worries. Thank you.